Hi, everybody. My name is Meghan Dibble, and my wife and I started Herd and Flock Animal Sanctuary 3 years ago. And before we had even had rescued animals for a year, we got hit by a wildfire. And this one over here helped us out really greatly.
It's fun to help.
Yeah.
Good to help.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
I sure will.
Oh, you got it. Oh.
My own little mic. Yeah. My name is Monica Stevens. My husband and I, David, founded Jameson Humane. We're based in Napa Valley. Cool thing about where we are is we are kind of in the middle of all the activity of all these fabulous sanctuaries. So we're going to get into a little bit about that day in 2020 where Meghan and I teamed up and we were able to help Herd and Flock, but it's really important. One of the messages you're going to hear today is collaboration and how important it is for us and for those of you who maybe want to volunteer one day to help one of the sanctuaries. So,
yeah, we actually were living in Berkeley, doing our own. My wife and I, we were just living our own lives and thinking, it'd be really nice to buy 10 acres and put a cow on it. And suddenly we had bought 60 acres and now we have almost 100 animals. And by design, by choice, not by accident. We kind of got involved and started getting more involved with the community. And when we first moved to this particular property, which was a farm animal sanctuary before we bought it, it was really nice to be able to continue sanctuary in the same location. It feels very special to be able to do that. But it was recommended to us, who knew that property very well, that we contact Monica. And so when we reached out, we heard that she was helping sanctuaries come up with evacuation plans. And of course, you think, I'm going to come up with an evacuation plan for something that will never happen, but just in case. And so Monica was so generous, said absolutely, and then COVID hit.
Yes.
And you weren't doing any more, you were hosting or putting together sessions or gatherings where people could talk about evacuation or learn about evacuating farm animals.
And with Solano Cart, you might have reached out to them.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah. And so why did you start doing that?
So Jameson Humane was founded in 2014. Our first fire, we were a year old, 2015, was called the Valley Fire, Lake County. We had no idea what we were doing. So when you think about where an organization starts and where they are today, when I look back at 2015 and that Valley Fire, that's really where we cut our teeth in disaster response. It was something I will never forget, and it forced Jameson to become a leader in the space of disaster response, disaster preparedness, and all the things now that we know, all the buzzwords we know in disaster, everything with a wildfire or a flood or an earthquake, is that you have to have a team, you have to be aligned with your public officials, the county. You have to be aligned with CAL FIRE. You need friends, your sanctuary friends. You need your CART. Have you guys heard the term Community Animal Response Team? You've got to have your CART friends. But most important, you have to have your own plan for your sanctuary, because you never know when a disaster is going to strike. So we set out after 2015 to get involved in a big way, Jameson does, not to be running behind the fire lines, because that's incredibly bit different work. We were preparing ourselves to collaborate, raise funding so that we could help all those brave souls and those community animal response teams that were going to do that. They needed equipment, they needed resources. And what we found from all of that is together we're stronger. Everybody should do what they do best. And our gift is rallying the community, getting that money in so we can give it out to those organizations that could help. One of the things we found, and I don't mean to go too far on this, but one of the things we found is that through our journey at Jameson Humane and who we are, the biggest thing that we need every day are volunteers, because during a disaster, two things become very apparent. One, we need fosters, because if we have to evacuate our property, we need all y'all to be a foster potentially for anything from a goat to a cow to a cat to a bunny. And the other thing we need are volunteers to transport. Because you think about all these animals, you have 100 animals. And you got you and Katie and vehicles, and you gotta have people. So the pandemic and COVID was one thing, but this ever-present danger, this ever-present fear of fire season is what we've come to live with. It's available to us 4 months out of the year, so we all have to be ready. There's this cool app, if you guys don't have it on your phone, it's called Watch Duty. Get it. Because it'll show you what animal sanctuaries all up and down California are dealing with on a daily basis. It shows where the fires are. So when Meghan and Katie came to town, I was so excited. The sanctuary world was excited because they were another incredible source of brightness, help, collaboration. And today you guys are just, you've taken over there in Vacaville, in Solano County.
Yeah, it's been a journey. We keep, progressing and taking the next step until we get a hard no. And so far we keep getting yeses, even though we did experience a wildfire. You had come over to our place before all this went down. It was the middle of COVID, and you met our pigs, and you had these really awesome pants on, and Olivia just completely mudded your whole side. And you looked around, and you were looking at our gates and suggesting, maybe think about sprinklers here or things there. Got us really percolating. We got our first rescued animals, let's say October of 2019. You came in sometime in the spring. By June, we had gotten a very generous donation from somebody we know to buy a trailer, our first livestock trailer. And we got a used truck for like $3,000 that had, a bajillion miles on it. And we were like, we are set. We have our evacuation plan. We're going to just put some animals in that truck and in that car. And, of course, they're going to walk right on. But, yeah.
Yeah.
No, we did have an outline, and we were starting to practice some of those, evacuation protocols that you had suggested, and we were in community with a lot of other sanctuaries. And then I called you.
1 a.m.
1 in the morning, we were told it was time to go, and Katie and I were running around. We had no idea where to go. So it's one of those things where you kind of have a plan, but then what? It's not like convenient after breakfast, once you've had your coffee. And for some reason, I left you a message, and you called me back. Like, it's bedtime. Why did you call me back?
You needed help.
Yeah.
I knew where you could go.
And it's true. So Monica said, okay, tell me what your situation is. And she, from afar, started getting on the phone to people. Yeah, I was going to say horn.
I know.
Yeah. Getting on the phone to people, see where we could go, and you were able to hook us up with Charlie's Acres. We hadn't gone there, we didn't know them. They just happened to have an open barn with some stalls, and somehow said, tell them to come here. We got about half of our animals loaded, just me and Katie, and opened up all the gates and said, we will be right back. And we took off. Katie carried on. The other amazing gift that you gave us was Erica. And how did you meet Erica?
Through a friend. When we first started Jameson, Erica Rushling, she had started a rescue called Flat Broke Farm. She said what did she say? We're the humans are broke, but the animals aren't. I can't remember it's a cute tagline. But she's located in Katati. And if you're in a disaster, you're in an emergency, you want Erica by your side. She's badass.
Yeah, she's done over, 24 rescues specifically from sanctuaries or farms, and so she has a specialty in evacuation under very stressful conditions. And so she showed up, and I, turned around and went back to where we were going to meet to go back to the farm to get the rest of the animals. She was bringing a trailer all the way from Katati, which is 45 to an hour away, at 1 in the morning. And by the time we got to the road entrance, we could already see the fire coming down. It was too dangerous for us to go through. So we just sat there, and she waited for us I think she waited with us for about 4 hours. In the meantime, Katie, my wife, was already at Charlie's Acres dropping off and then heading back. Some other friends who we knew had trailers came down from Sacramento. Melissa and Kat were camping that night. Got my message at 6 in the morning. Left all their campground, left all their camping stuff there, and drove the 3 hours to come help us. And maybe around noon, the firefighters allowed us to go down our road, and there all our animals were. They were all together. They hadn't left, hanging out under the mulberry tree. It was very smoky. There were probably a dozen firefighters containing the line and saving our sanctuary, and we were able to get, with the help of your organization and just so many others, to get everybody loaded and off, and we were gone for a month. We were off site for a month, and you helped us with, you get all your animals off and you're like, woo, got it, but what about their food? And what if anybody has medicine and supplies, like who's got rubber bowls for water and feed? And happily Charlie's Acres had a few things, yeah. But then Jameson was able to help us either give us like actual supplies. You brought over some hay feeders.
Yep.
Or help us buy pig feed, Yeah. What a gift.
So that's another thing sanctuaries need in times of distress and wildfires, let's just say, is funding. When the disaster hits, all of the things go in motion. Typically, if a sanctuary has to evacuate, it takes money because you're going somewhere where you have nothing. So when Meghan and I were talking about this presentation, we're like, the main two things that are so important for our audience to understand in a disaster is, well, three things. One is you have to have a collaborative group around you. Two, you need volunteers to help, because once you got all the babies over there,
yep,
then you need people to help feed and...
Yeah, and we actually started our sanctuary about 3 months before lockdown happened. So having people come out and volunteer and get to know our animals was pretty much not happening. But we did have a couple of close friends who drove an extra 40 minutes to come and help us out there, and Charlie's Acres had volunteers, and I know you came out, and just what a gift.
Yeah. Well, and so we're kind of being animated right now about disasters, and believe me, when we're in it, it's not animated, it's intensity. But knock on wood, we're sitting at October 23rd.
Yeah.
And to us, fire season is July 1st through the end of October. So we're not breathing a sigh of relief quite yet, but we're feeling really good that with that little bit of rain we got and with this cooler weather, we hope we're out of the woods for fire season.
Well, and that's it, right? Because now we get a little breathing room then to prepare for next year. And boy, don't we have a serious plan now for fire. We are so ready to evacuate, and I hope we never have to be.
That's right, me too. And flooding could happen, I mean, let's get some rain, right? But on our property, we're located in Carneros. And our property, Carneros is known for, the soil doesn't really absorb water that well, so it actually just rains and then just sits on top. So if we get too much in one downpour, we have to move animals around.
How'd you do last year with that atmospheric river in October?
Yeah, we had to move animals around. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Pigs especially, because it was like coming up to their
Right.
cute little elbows. So, yeah, so one of our friends calls California a disaster Disneyland, and we smile. Like I said, we're smiling now because we're almost out of the fire season, but it only makes us more resilient. It only strengthens our bond with our collaborators.
Mm-hmm.
And there's about 10 of us in the Bay Area that are in it, and we're all on text together, and we're very tight. So we've learned that you need a community in order to survive this constant stream of disasters. And we're not just about ourselves in the Bay Area. If there's something going on, like the mosquito fire, campfire, name the fire, and, if it's in the area, you'll find some of us trekking out there to volunteer days, weekends, to help out. Because when we need help, we think that's good karma, right? It's going to come back to us and we'll be able to be helped. But it's not going away. That doesn't mean that our programming stops. We keep forging ahead, keep taking in animals. But now what we have is we have a beautiful layered system of friendships, alliances, resources, each other's cell phones for texting, and we're ready. We're not gonna let this happen to us. And be in fear of it. We get in front of it so that the fear is displaced. There's a gal in this audience that helped us prepare Jameson this year because we had some things changing on our property. She came out very, very astute and adept at disaster evacuation preparation. She kind of turned our whole ranch around, thinking different ways about our own evacuation. And
Did you change enclosures or just protocols?
Protocols.
Yeah.
And signage, If we have to have CAL FIRE coming in and they have their big rig, we want to make sure they're not going to take the top off of their hook and ladder because they can't get the trees. They don't know how high the tree system is. But also just thinking about some of our fragile animals that can't be loaded. We don't think about this like you guys did, Meghan. Like you think you're ready, right? And then you try to get a horse that is suffering from its own challenges, and that's why we have it in sanctuary. Then you try to get it into a trailer. It's already fearful. Then you've got all this crazy energy going on with all the animals. So instead of trying to throw it into a trailer, we fenced in the property in certain strategic areas, so it could be sheltering in place. So it's not on a trailer. The fire is somewhere, but we have to get all the animals off, so we leave it with a buddy. We have people on the ground that are going to stay with it, but we're not forcing it into a situation where it could kill itself, just because we're trying to push it off the property. We had to find a different way. So we started thinking differently about that, and that person in this audience was amazing because we thought, oh, you have to get all the animals off. No, not necessarily. You just have to have a different plan. So it's planning. And then it's rehearsing every year. That's the crazy part. You've got your team, your staff, your volunteers. You have to rehearse. You can't assume that everyone is going to remember what happened last year. So like I said, we're coming off of fire, hot potential flood season's coming. Who knows when an earthquake will come. It's not gloom and doom. When you're ready, you feel strong. And you owe it to your animals, and you owe it to your constituency, your donors. You have to have a fabulous plan.
Yeah, I was just thinking about, how Katie and I just thought, well, we'll just take the next indicated step. If we get a yes, cool. If we get a no, we'll reevaluate. And you might think that this wildfire might have been a big no, but it wasn't. Yeah, and I think it's because of that sense of community, right? We're here at this festival in community with each other, enjoying some really delicious food, which I haven't tried yet, but I'm smelling, and I will go and check it out. But we get to be in community around thinking about animals and health and environment, and how can we make even small changes to do some good. And it feels good to be here with you in that as well.
Agreed.
You know?
More the merrier.
And it's not all doom and gloom, right? Here we have these animals that might not have had the best start in life, and they're hanging out with us, they're laying in the sun and eating down the grass.
Getting belly rubs.
Yeah, getting belly rubs and getting regular brushings. And so one of the benefits of that is not only being in community here and with our volunteers and with other sanctuaries, but then also meeting new people who've never met a cow before. Who's brushed a cow? Yeah, a couple of you, but everybody should be raising their hands. Cow brushing is a pretty fabulous activity. What about petting a bit, rubbing a pig belly? Yeah, oh, more pig bellies out here, yes. I love the pig bellies. Yeah, being able to connect emotionally is not just for them, it's for us too, right? I am, by training, or my degree is in music. I'm a classical singer. I teach and sing around. And I didn't know. I didn't know how much I needed to be outside every day, in the sun, rain, whatever, wind, and hanging out with these animals. It's been a gift, and I guess that's why Wildfire, I got Han and Finn. I gotta go brush those big babies.
Yeah, and when you think about, animals at a sanctuary, the ones that are on their journey to heal and get better, we're always making sure that, they're not in challenging ways with new humans coming on for a tour. But for those that have been around and they're looking for you, they want to help, they want to give back. It's amazing how resilient and how loving these sanctuary animals are. They feel, you can tell they just want to participate in the healing process of humans. We just launched an animal-assisted healing program, and it's for the humans. It's
I love that.
Rescued animals rescuing humans. Our mental health crisis is on the rise. We've got 80 animals at Jameson that are ready to help, and we want people to be able to experience what we get to see every day, we get to feel.
Do you need any new testers?
Yes.
Can I come over?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Anytime.
I'm scared of horses, so maybe I could start there.
Yeah. Start with the pony.
Oh, a pony, that sounds more my speed.
Yeah.
I got a 2,500-pound cow, but it's a horse. Really? Yeah, totally.
Coming over.
I can't wait. I love hearing that because, we give a lot of agency, as much agency as we can to our animals. Consent is really important. And so one of the reasons why we're not a petting zoo and we're a sanctuary, even if we have people come, the animals get to say whether or not they want to interact. The goats are the most friendly, but we have a couple goats that are rescued from petting zoos, and they're like, nope, I'm good, thank you, bye. And that's so fine. So unless there is some medical need, something for their health, whether it's a regular maintenance thing, we really are very, at least for us, we're really hands-off with the animals, and we gain their trust by being around, being consistent.
That's it.
Right? And so if you can offer that to humans then to,
It's life-changing.
Yeah.
Talking about domestic violence survivors, talking about first responders, PTSD, we're talking about children who have experienced trauma so much, especially during COVID, teenage depression, and there's a list. And we just completed a dementia equine program, which was beautiful, watching our rescue horses give love to people that have, early onset dementia. I mean, it's endless what the therapy animals can provide humans. And so we're 8 years old, so our sojourn into this is new, and we're building this program, and I think it's the future for the sanctuary animals that are available. I think it's the future for
Building love and compassion.
Yeah. And people really understanding their incredible gift of giving their heart and their soul. Yeah, you gotta hug a pig, you gotta hug a cow, there's nothing like it.
Yeah. Maybe a horse too.
And a horse. And a
But
pony.
or a pony,
We'll
rather.
start with
I'll
pony.
start with a pony.
Yeah. Do you think they have questions?
Yeah. Does anybody have any
Do you guys
questions?
have any oh?
Yeah, some of these animals you talk about, I mean, a sanctuary sounds like that's a nice, safe place to live the rest of their lives. Now, what if a rancher comes up and says, hey, that's my livestock. I'd like to reclaim them. They belong to me. Has that ever happened before?
Not yet.
Good question.
You know, I was worried about that once. We have a cow named Finn, and he was found on the side of the road down from a very large dairy. We're talking like 30,000 cows in this dairy. And he was found as a tiny little calf down the road with a chain around his neck and a piece of rotted wood at the end of that chain. And there were rows and rows of veal crates, and presumably, and he is a sassy boy, he broke himself out and went down the road. And instead of, you know, being returned, somebody was driving down in their minivan and said, ooh, get in my van. And she ended up taking him to a sanctuary. And over several months of him being, you know, cared for and bottle fed and brought back to health, he made his way out of state and down the line and ended up at our place. Now, we don't know where that happened. We don't know where, you know, what that situation was. We weren't there for that. But it did make me worried. I didn't want to tell a story because I was worried somebody would recognize him.
Connect the story.
Yeah, they would connect that story. But I think it's really important to tell his story. And we will face that battle if we have to.
Well, and you know, to your question, if that was to happen and they connected, we don't like to do this. Nonprofits don't like to pay people for animals. It's not what we like to do because that will never stop that cycle.
Mm-hmm.
But in these particular cases, sometimes you have to go to the rancher and say, we'll pay for that animal. And then they're fine. At the end of the day, it's not the animal they want the money from the animal. So that's the sacrifice we make is, you know, paying for that animal or paying that money to that person, because that cycle isn't going to stop until people stop eating so much meat, right? That's a whole nother...
That's another panel.
That's another panel. But to your point, if they discover it, yeah, we would probably have to...
Do whatever we can.
Yep.
Yeah, but that has happily that has not happened.
No, not done.
But I'm here to fight for who our friends are. Yeah.
We have participated in paying for other sanctuaries. We have Jameson because that's the last thing we want to do. Once you have that in sanctuary, that beautiful creature, that sentient being, oh my God, to put it back into that scenario, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Thanks. There was a question. And then the back.
I was just wondering, it's interesting what you were saying earlier about determining which animals might be able to shelter in place and those that can't. So right now, how do you determine that? I mean, I know it seems like you all know the histories, more the characteristics of the animals. Do you kind of like have a list of here are the ones that probably should shelter in place, or here are the ones that might be okay? I'm assuming probably some of the animals you don't even have any idea how they might react in that kind of situation.
That comes from drilling, an evac drill. Yeah. And the whole team is involved.
So if you have an animal who during an evacuation drill won't safely and calmly load.
But you kind of know that going in. You know who you know who your fragile, your sweet little fragile animals are, whether they're a 300-pound pig or 1,200-pound horse. You know, you kind of know that, but you have to talk about that. You have to have plan A, plan B. And we didn't have plan B. We just had plan A until this year, when this special volunteer took us through plan B. So that was eye-awakening for all of us, because we thought we knew everything about evacuation. So it's a plan and the staff has to know. Yeah, and that's the only way. You have to communicate about who's not going to be able to do it.
How do you bring new animals that you're fostering? How do you bring them, or take on? How do you bring them into your plan?
Yeah, you gotta. You have a good gut instinct about who's going to be challenging. Food is the best motivator for most of our animals. They'll eat any time of the day. So if you have the right food, they're going to follow you. But some of them, like I said, have had trauma from something else, and food, they don't care about food. So communication is key. And it's always changing. Because guess what? Next fire season, it's going to be a whole probably set of additional animals. That's a good question. And it keeps us up at night. I'm the founder. I'm always worried about everything. Yeah. And that's one of the things, is making sure that every animal has got a plan.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I was late, so I apologize.
That's
I'm just wondering where you're located and if you take more horses. Like some involved in some horse rescue, it's hard to find places.
It is hard to find places, and I think, each group of animals has certain challenges for rescue. We are located in Vacaville. We do not rescue horses, but we know sanctuaries or rescue groups that do, and so we're happy to make connections for that. And I believe you're full. You don't have any more space for horses, and that is a real issue. So anybody who wants to start a sanctuary, come and talk to me. Let me encourage you. Rooster sanctuary, anybody? Yeah. With the horses that they have on hand.
What was, and I didn't hear your question. Was it something about, of horses that need to be rescued?
Yeah, I'm working, I don't know.
No, it's okay.
I'll give you my card.
Yeah.
Because the beautiful part, the other thing is this community of sanctuaries. We all are on this channel on Facebook and Instagram. And we all talk to each other. So we know who all the horse people are. And I gotta tell you, if the country knew how awful horses are treated.
So bad.
It's awful. When they say they're going to auction, it's code word for slaughter. And so I'm happy to give you my card, because we might have some openings coming up.
Ooh.
Thank
She's
you.
getting the racetrack, yeah.
Oh, yes,
Thanks. Thanks for being a voice.
yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I was recently contacted by some members of the community about some domestic dumped rabbits. So some domestic rabbits who do not have the same kind of sense that a wild rabbit has. This is, after the spring Easter rush on buying rabbits, a bunch of rabbits dumped at our local Arco gas station. And we went and rescued 5, and 2 days later we had 20. Doesn't that just seem about right? So Monica, at Jameson, they have this really great low-cost spay-neuter mobile rig unit where they can help facilitate spay-neutering, which, now that I know, when you rescue rabbits,
You better get him spayed.
you gotta get them spayed immediately. So the more you know. But thank you so much for helping us.
Always. Yeah, we have this great rig. It's up in Lake County today, spay-neutering
That's
dogs for Lake County folks. And I don't know of any of you that have kind of heard about the crisis of spay-neutering because there's a lot of vets getting out of the business. Low-cost spay-neuter, to find it is very difficult. If you were to bring in a female dog right now into your vet, it's probably $700. Not
Wow.
many people can afford that. So if you can go to a no-cost or a low-cost option, those animals, cats, dogs, bunnies, are going to more likely be spay-neutered, and that's what we want. We want to bring the numbers down, because there's not enough homes for all these animals being born. So that, consequences to that. But anyway, our rig, it goes all over the place, and we do thousands of animals every year. We're able to spay neuter. Yes?
Speaking of population control, I've heard recently that there has been some work done on rodent
Mice.
birth control. Yeah, rodent
Yeah, we use
birth
that.
control. I was thinking, why is it that we have to spay and neuter these animals, actually mess up their biological apparatus, when we could just give them something that would make them sterile, either permanently or for a specified period of time, whatever works for that population. That science is available. Why is it we continue to spay and neuter? I mean, it's a stopgap. We have to do something, right? But I mean, it seems that it might be more humane if we could offer them just,
Birth control.
lack of fertility for an extended period of numbers down that way.
Do you use we use the rodent birth control at our place?
Yeah, because,
Do you-
no, I just heard about it.
Yeah.
I saw 2 mice playing at our ranch the other day. They were having a good time, and I thought,
That
Two
might,
means
that,
20.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, what I can say about the contraceptal, which is the rat contra, now I can't even think about it.
Contraception.
Yeah, no, both their names are very similar. There's a rat one and a mouse one, but it has to be continuously ingested. So it's not a sterilizing drug. It's something that, and in California, it's regulated like a pesticide. There are a lot of really great things about it, which I'll tell you right now. But my wife had to become a licensed pesticide applicator in order for us to use that contraceptive on our property and through the county. And we have to replenish the bait stations. We have like 6 of them because we have lots of rodents. We replenish those 6 every 10 days. Because it has to be continuously fed. So the benefit to that is that it doesn't appear to affect those higher in the food chain. So if that rat is, on the contraceptive, gets, eaten by a red-tailed hawk, it's not going to affect the hawk, which is great. But the downside is that it's expensive, and so it's a continuous cost. We're waiting for one for ground squirrels. By the way, if anybody knows about ground squirrel contraceptives, please let us know. In the meantime, we live trap and move away from the barns, but they can find their way back after, even within 2 miles. So it's...
yeah, and I think with like dogs and cats, the challenge is they get older in life, they suffer cancer,
ovarian cancer.
mammary tumors. So, from what I've learned in this process is that it's really good to spay neuter. People might argue on the right month, how old the dog or cat is, or the bunny, but their life is going to be extended if they get those organs out of their body that will cause cancer down the road. Because we want them to live a long life, but majority of them will get cancer of some sort.
So the quality of life is also enhanced by food.
Yes. Yes.
And I think, we do have a lot at hand, like a lot of science technology at hand, right? I believe the initial COVID vaccines were done without testing on animals, right? Like, why isn't that always the thing? And it was so fast,
Yes.
relatively speaking. And so maybe to your larger question at hand, why don't we have the technology to do something chemically rather than with a physical, procedure? It's because people don't want to spend money figuring that out. It's not a priority.
Seems like there could be some doctoral research for people looking for a project.
Yeah.
They're waiting for you to go back to get your doctorate so you can make this your project.
Actually, what I need to do is find some people who are bright enough to go back to school at this point, and maybe younger college.
Great
Let us
idea.
know how we can help you.
Yes. Great idea. I hadn't thought about that. Any other questions? Comments? Volunteers?
Oh yeah, please come and visit our animals.
Yeah. If you're up in Napa, I've got my cards here. Anyone wants to come visit?
Are you taking only regular volunteers, or do you take people
We take one-offs. You don't have to be regular. You can just come on up and visit us and, yeah, sure.
We love
Sure.
that.
I know.
Yeah, is that what you were talking about? I think you said you were.
We have one more question in the back. Oh, good. Please definitely talk to Monica. Yeah. I don't know.
A year ago.
A year ago, Katie and I heard about this new program called LEAP, Leaders for Ethics, Animals, and Planet. And it is what I understood to be kind of an answer to traditional farm, high school, FFA, 4-H, with an emphasis on animals and sanctuary. It's still animal care, it's still leadership, it's still advocacy, but it focuses on animal advocacy, right?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
And so can you talk about how that started? And we're so happy to be part of it now.
I'm sure many of you in this room have heard of Miyoko, of Miyoko's Creamery. So Miyoko approached me a year ago, and she and her sanctuary, Rancho Compasión in Nicasio, which we love, and Danielle and Josh Hanosh of Blackberry Creek Farm were starting LEAP. And they asked if Jameson would want to be one of the 3 founding members. I just said yes, because it sounded great. I know all of us have known someone in FFA or 4-H who, upon the time of the auction, you've had to console them, or they called Jameson trying to get Jameson to take their animal because they had no idea that the animal was going to auction, then to slaughter. So we decided to get in front of it, have a very positive, proactive program, and we hope in the next 2 years it's going to be a national program. So we piloted it this past spring, and then we joined and asked 3 other sanctuaries, Herd and Flock, Goatlandia, and Charlie's Acres, to join us. So we're mushrooming out. But it's animal advocacy, it's learning about all that's going on in factory farming, it's really educating high school children about the realities of what's going on with animals. So it is an alternative to FFA and 4-H.
It runs the school year, so September through May, like a traditional FFA program. But instead of having one animal, they get, so many animals that they can love on and understand. And at the end, there is, the end of FFA, you would sell your animal and have then that money for college. Well, this program also offers a very generous stipend at the end of the year, and it's designed so that a student could participate freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year. And so at the end of that, they would have, something like $4,000 for college.
Yeah, and become a LEAP leader. Maybe they want to, kind of get into the leadership component. Pretty exciting. It's just getting kicked off. At our booth out in the promenade area, we have information about it if any of you are interested in donating for the scholarship fund, or if you volunteer at one of those 6 sanctuaries like Herd and Flock or Jameson, you could be part of the LEAP component. But it's wonderful. We had our second, you guys are on your second too.
We did already.
Second session, September and October, and to see the kids just starting to, and they have to do a project too, just starting to think about the reality of what they're getting into, and they love it. It's really exciting.
Even today, we had one of our LEAP interns come and hang out at our table for a while so they could talk about the sanctuary. Yeah, it was really cool.
Yep.
It's really cool.
LEAP.
And so if you know any high school students who are looking for some animal adventures, then next August would be the next application that they could apply to.
Yeah.
Really exciting. Thanks, Monica.
Thank you. Well, that was Miyoko and Danielle.
Yeah. Any other thoughts or questions? Any future sanctuaries happening here? My dream is that there's one on every corner, and then we won't need sanctuaries.
Right.
I think in every field there's a sense of scarcity, but I think in the sanctuary community, at least that we're a part of, it really is about collaboration and encouraging and supporting, and it's been really great.
It's really great work. Yeah, and so we just encourage you to come visit your local sanctuary. If you're in Solano County, Napa County, come see us. We love it.
Yeah.
For the day.
Oh, you have a question?
What's your favorite collaborative rescue story or adoption story?
Well, I think the fire collaboration.
Yeah, I think
takes the cake.
it really does.
The vegan
Just
cake.
vegan delicious cake. Yeah, I think the one that comes to mind, I think for us that we collaborated on was just the wildfire when we had to evacuate herd and flock a year or 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago. And Monica was our off-site coordinator. And you were this year's off-site coordinator as well.
Very honored.
I sent you some materials and we didn't even have to use them, which is such a gift. But you know, also collaborating on this bunny rescue,
Yeah.
really
We're good collaborators.
yeah, saved our backside on that one. So
And I think the Vetmobile, the vet rig, has been really wonderful for Jameson because we can give and the community gets. And there's a woman that drove up. I'll just kind of end with this
Sure.
story. It's collaborative because we had the rig, right? Woman drove up to Jameson. She called on the way. She had just been at the emergency room and they were going to charge $5,000 for a surgery. She didn't have the money. So she said, Monica, I have to make a choice. I either don't do the surgery and the animal dies, or they euthanize the animal, she said. So either way, the animal doesn't make it. We don't want that. So we happened to have, it was very, amazing the timing, but she came to us. We had a rig event going on. Our vet said she would stay another 2 hours. And
Wow.
I can't remember what the surgery was, but we did the surgery.
What kind of an animal?
A dog. It was 2 hours of our vet's time, and they charge $100 an hour. $200 versus $5,000. Now, nothing disparaging against the vet community. They need to make money. But we need to make sure our humans keep their babies, because that's their connection, that's their lifeline, is the animal. And we don't want the animals going into the shelters because they can't afford whatever. So Jameson wants to find the solution. The solution is low cost, no cost. Try to keep those animals and their humans together.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's beautiful. Thanks.
yeah, thank you.
All right,
All right,
I think that's it for us.
yes.
Thank you so
everybody
much
have a
for
great
coming.
day. Thank you.
Go get some food.
No, I